The Grand Conclave of the Galactic Assembly met once every 100 years. 400 species sent their representatives to the massive station that floated between three dying stars. The station itself was older than most civilizations. Its builders had vanished long ago, leaving behind only this monument to cooperation and diplomacy. Today, the chamber was full. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy sat in their designated sections. Some breathed oxygen, others floated in tanks of liquid methane. A few existed as pure energy, contained in magnetic fields. The diversity of life in the galaxy was staggering, but they all shared one thing in common. They all believed they understood how the universe worked. They were wrong. Elder Vorithax moved slowly to the central platform. His body was ancient, held together by medical technology that most species considered primitive. The Kethmari had once ruled half the galaxy. Now, Vorithax was the last of his kind. His people lived on a single-generation ship, drifting through the void, waiting to die. The assembly watched him with a mixture of pity and impatience. Everyone knew the Kethmari. They were a cautionary tale, a reminder that even great empires could fall. But nobody really listened to them anymore. What wisdom could a dying species offer? Vorithax reached the platform and activated the translation field. When he spoke, his words would reach every mind in the chamber, regardless of language or biology. "I come before you with a warning," he said. His voice was thin and weak, but the translation field carried it perfectly. A warning about the species called humanity. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Humanity was a minor species, barely worth mentioning. They occupied 12 colony worlds in a remote corner of the galaxy. Their technology was primitive. They had no faster-than-light travel of their own. They bought old engines from consortium traders, paying with raw materials and cultural artifacts. They were nobody. High Commander Zethkar of the Dominion of Zeth laughed openly. The Dominion was the galaxy's supreme military power. Their fleet numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Their soldiers had conquered 60 species in the last millennium alone. To Zethkar, humanity was not even worth conquering. They had nothing of value. "The old fool wants to warn us about farmers and traders," Zethkar said to his advisors. "Perhaps next he will warn us about the dangers of dust mites." Vorithax ignored the laughter. He had expected it. He activated the holographic projector built into the platform, and the chamber fell dark. Stars appeared above them, a map of the galaxy as it had existed 3 million years ago. "My ancestors kept records," Vorithax said. "Fragments of a war fought before most of your species learned to use fire. A war that nearly ended all life in this galaxy." The hologram shifted. Ships appeared, thousands of them, locked in battle. The design was unlike anything the assembly had seen. Sleek and organic, they moved through space like living things. These were the vessels of the ancient coalition, 17 species united against a common enemy. 17 civilizations, Vorithax continued. The greatest powers of their age. They possessed technology that would seem like magic even today. They controlled weapons that could crack planets and extinguish stars. They believed themselves invincible. The hologram flickered. A new type of ship appeared. Smaller, simpler, almost crude in comparison. But there were so many of them. They poured out of nowhere, filling the space between stars like a swarm of insects. "Human ships," Vorithax said. "Or rather, the ships of a species genetically identical to the humans we know today. My ancestors tested the current humans secretly. The DNA match is perfect. They are the same species." The assembly fell silent. Even Zethkar stopped laughing. There was something disturbing about those simple ships, something that made even the most powerful representatives feel cold. The hologram showed the battle. Coalition ships fired weapons of terrible beauty. Beams of light that tore through reality itself. Missiles that created miniature black holes. Bombs that reversed the flow of time in localized areas. Every shot hit its target. Human ships exploded by the thousands, and then they rebuilt themselves. The assembly watched in horror as destroyed ships pulled themselves back together. Metal flowed like water. Energy coalesced from nothing. Ships that had been reduced to atoms reformed in seconds, whole and functional and angry. "We killed them 1,000,000 times," Vorithax said quietly. "They did not stay dead. The hologram shifted to ground combat. Coalition soldiers, massive and armored, faced human troops. The humans were small, soft, fragile. A single blow should have killed them. Instead, they absorbed punishment that would have destroyed tanks. They fought with wounds that exposed bone and organ. They smiled as they died, because they knew death was temporary. My ancestors captured some of them, Vorothax said. They studied them, dissected them, tried to understand what they were facing. The humans did not resist. They answered every question. They were polite, even friendly. And they warned my ancestors, just as I am warning you now. The hologram showed a human prisoner, restrained in an examination chamber. The creature was unremarkable. 2 arms, 2 legs, a face that could almost pass for a dozen other species. It spoke calmly to its captors. "We do not want this war," the human said. "We did not start it, but we will finish it. We always finish it. Please, surrender. Accept our terms. We do not wish to destroy you, but we will if you force us. This is not a threat. This is grief. We mourn for you already." The coalition did not surrender. They could not imagine losing to such primitive creatures. They deployed their final weapon, something that had never been used before, something that was never meant to exist. The hologram showed a device of terrible complexity. It folded space in ways that hurt to look at. When activated, it would collapse an entire region of the galaxy into a dimensional anomaly. Nothing would survive. The coalition was willing to sacrifice themselves to stop humanity. They activated the weapon. The hologram went white. When it cleared, the chamber gasped. An entire galactic arm was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. Folded into a space that no longer connected to normal reality. The anomaly still existed today, 3 million years later. Ships that entered it never returned. The coalition succeeded, Vorothax said. They stopped the human advance. They killed trillions of humans in that single moment. They sacrificed 17 species to do it. My ancestors were the only survivors, a single ship that fled before the weapon activated. He paused, letting the silence stretch. They believed they had won. For 10,000 years, they believed humanity was gone. Then the humans returned. They came in peace, they said. They wanted to talk. They wanted to understand why the coalition had done what they did. The hologram showed a single human ship approaching the Kethmari generation vessel. It was small and unarmed, a diplomatic craft. My ancestors attacked it, Vorothax said. They destroyed it utterly. They celebrated their victory. And then the human ship rebuilt itself, exactly as it had 3 million years before. And the human aboard stepped out and asked, very politely, if they could please stop doing that. Vorothax deactivated the hologram. The lights returned to normal. He looked out at the assembly with eyes that had seen too much. The humans did not retaliate. They simply left. They said they understood our fear. They said they would give us time. They said they would wait until the galaxy was ready to talk. He pointed toward the region of space where humanity's 12 colonies existed. Those colonies appeared 300 years ago. The humans claim they are new rivals, primitive settlers looking for a home. They are lying. They are testing you. They want to see how you treat the weak. They want to know if the galaxy has changed. High Commander Zethkar stood up. His massive form towered over the other representatives. He was not afraid. He was incapable of fear. The Dominion had engineered it out of his bloodline generations ago. You expect us to believe this? Zethkar demanded. Ghost stories from a dying species? Recordings that could easily be fabricated? The humans we have observed are primitives. They pose no threat to anyone. Vorothax looked at the High Commander with something like pity. The Dominion of Zeth has existed for 12,000 years, he said. In that time, you have conquered 60 species. You have never faced defeat. You believe this makes you strong. It does not. It makes you blind. Zethkar laughed again, louder this time. The old relic peddles ghost stories, he announced to the assembly. Perhaps the Kethmari should focus on their own survival instead of inventing monsters. To frighten children, Vorothax did not argue. He simply gathered his materials and prepared to leave. At the doorway, he stopped and turned back. My people ignored this warning once, he said. We paid with our extinction. You will pay with yours. I can only hope that some of you survive to remember that I tried." He left the chamber in silence. 3 months later, the Dominion of Zeth formally annexed humanity's 12 colonies. High Commander Zefkar himself led the fleet. He expected no resistance. He expected gratitude. He had no idea what was coming. The Dominion fleet arrived at New Geneva with all the subtlety of a hammer striking glass. 300 warships darkened the sky above the colony's capital city. Smaller vessels descended through the atmosphere, their engines screaming as they burned through clouds that had never seen such violence. High Commander Zefkar watched from his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He stood on the observation deck, his massive frame silhouetted against the planet below. New Geneva was a pretty world. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It reminded him of worlds he had conquered before. They all looked beautiful from orbit. They all submitted in the end. "Deploy the ground forces," he ordered. "Secure all government buildings. Arrest anyone who resists." His officers scrambled to obey. Within hours, Dominion soldiers marched through the streets of every major city on New Geneva. They were impressive creatures, each one standing 3 meters tall, encased in armor that could withstand nuclear explosions. Their weapons could level buildings with a single shot. They moved with the confidence of beings who had never known defeat. The humans watched them pass. That was all they did. Watch. Zefkar had expected many things. He had prepared for violent resistance, for desperate last stands, for suicide attacks. He had contingency plans for biological weapons, for nuclear strikes, for every form of warfare his analysts could imagine. He had not prepared for this. The humans simply did not acknowledge the Dominion's presence. Colonial Governor Sarah Chen received his representatives in her office as scheduled. She listened politely to their demands. She was told that New Geneva was now a territory of the Dominion of Zeth. She was told that all human citizens were now subjects of the Dominion. She was told that she would cooperate or face consequences. Governor Chen nodded thoughtfully. "I understand your position," she said. "However, we must respectfully decline." The Dominion representative blinked. This was not a response his training had prepared him for. "Decline. You cannot decline. The Dominion does not request. The Dominion commands." "Yes, I understand that is your perspective," Governor Chen said. She smiled warmly. "Would you like some tea while we discuss this further?" The representative did not know what tea was. He did not care. He tried again to explain the situation. The Dominion had 300 warships in orbit. They had 50,000 soldiers on the ground. Resistance was not merely futile. It was impossible. Governor Chen agreed that the military situation was quite clear. She still declined to cooperate. This pattern repeated across all 12 human colonies. Dominion soldiers marched into government buildings and announced their authority. Human officials listened politely, offered refreshments, and then continued with their normal work as if the soldiers did not exist. Workers did not report to Dominion-assigned jobs. Citizens did not process Dominion paperwork. Traffic controllers did not redirect vehicles for Dominion convoys. It was not rebellion. Rebellion implied conflict. This was something stranger. The humans simply acted as if the Dominion was not there. Zefkar ordered demonstrations of force. Warships performed low-altitude passes over cities, their engines shattering windows for kilometers in every direction. Soldiers fired warning shots into the air. Armored vehicles crushed abandoned cars in public squares. The humans watched these displays with mild interest, like tourists observing local customs, and then went back to their lives. On the 5th day, Zefkar ordered arrests. This was when the first anomaly occurred. Dominion soldiers took Governor Chen into custody. They placed her in a maximum security cell aboard a military transport. The cell was monitored by 12 cameras, protected by energy fields, and guarded by 2 soldiers at all times. There was no possible way to escape. In the morning, the cell was empty. The cameras showed nothing unusual. One frame, Governor Chen sat on her bed, reading a book. The next frame, she was gone. The guards had seen nothing. The energy fields had not been breached. She had simply ceased to exist in that location. An hour later, she was reported walking into her office in the capital, carrying the same book. As if nothing had happened, Zefkar ordered her arrested again. The same thing happened. He ordered her arrested a third time. The same thing happened. On the fourth attempt, she was waiting for the soldiers when they arrived. "I appreciate your persistence," she told them, "but I really do have a very busy schedule. Perhaps we could arrange regular meetings instead? I'm free on Tuesdays." The soldiers did not know how to respond. They reported back to their superiors. Their superiors reported back to the High Commander. The High Commander felt something he had not experienced in his entire life: uncertainty. More anomalies followed. Arrested humans vanished from cells across all 12 colonies. Weapons began malfunctioning at random, their power cells draining overnight, their targeting systems locking onto empty space. Dominion vehicles stopped working, their engines simply refusing to start, though mechanics could find nothing wrong with them. None of it was violent. None of it was threatening. It was just impossible. Zefkar requested a meeting with the human leadership. He needed to understand what was happening. He needed to know what he was facing. Ambassador Elena Vasquez came to his flagship alone, in a small shuttle that should not have been able to pass through the Dominion's defensive grid. The grid had not detected her approach. She simply appeared on his sensors, already docking with the Eternal Conquest. She was a small woman with dark hair and warm eyes. She looked fragile, the way all humans looked fragile. She smiled when she saw Zefkar, as if meeting an old friend. "High Commander," she said, "thank you for seeing me. I know you must be very confused." Zefkar towered over her. His shadow completely engulfed her small form. He could have killed her with one hand. He had killed many beings in exactly that way. "You will explain what is happening," he demanded. "You will explain how your people are doing these things, and you will surrender immediately." Elena sat down in a chair that had not been there a moment ago. She crossed her legs and looked up at him with an expression of genuine warmth. "I understand your frustration," she said. "Truly, I do. You came here expecting a simple conquest. Your entire worldview is built on the idea that power determines reality. The strong take, the weak submit. It's a very old philosophy. Most species discover it eventually." She paused, her smile fading slightly. "We had that philosophy once. We were very good at it. Better than you, actually. Better than anyone. We conquered our way across galaxies, took everything we wanted, crushed everyone who resisted. We were unstoppable." Zefkar snorted. "You expect me to believe that? Your species cannot even build proper starships. The ships you have seen are not our real ships," Elena said gently. "The weapons you have analyzed are not our real weapons. Everything you think you know about humanity is a carefully constructed lie, a test. We wanted to see how the galaxy would treat us if we appeared weak." She looked at him with something that might have been pity. "You have shown us, clearly." Zefkar felt his heart's beating faster. This was ridiculous. The small, soft creature was trying to intimidate him with absurd claims. He was the High Commander of the Dominion of Zeph. He had conquered worlds. He had exterminated species. He would not be frightened by fairy tales. "If you have such power," he growled, "why not use it? Why play these games?" Elena's expression grew sad. "Because we remember what we were. We remember what we did. 3 million years ago, we faced a coalition of 17 species who tried to stop us. We destroyed them. We collapsed an entire galactic arm into a dimensional fold. We killed trillions, and then we looked at what we had become, and we were horrified." She stood up. The chair vanished as if it had never existed. "We spent 3 million years learning to be better, learning that power without wisdom is just cruelty. We hoped the galaxy had learned the same lesson. We hoped that if we appeared vulnerable, you would treat us with kindness. Instead, you came with warships. You came with soldiers. You came to take everything we had." She walked toward him, and despite everything, despite his size and strength and certainty, Zefkar took a step back. "Commander, we have no quarrel with the Dominion. We do not want to fight you. We do not want to destroy you. We simply want to be left alone. Please, take your fleet and go home. Tell your leaders what I have told you. Let this end peacefully." Zefkar recovered his composure. He was a warrior of the Dominion. He did not retreat from threats, real or imagined. "And if we refuse?" he demanded. "If we proceed with the annexation?" Elena sighed. She looked unbearably tired. "Then you will learn the same lesson the coalition learned. The same lesson every species that threatens humanity learns eventually. We do not want to teach it. We have spent 3 million years trying to forget that we know how. She turned and walked toward the door. Before she left, she looked back one final time. You have 1 week to withdraw. Please, Commander, take the warning. We are trying to spare you. That night, every Dominion soldier on New Geneva fell into a deep sleep. When they woke, they were aboard their ships, in orbit. Their weapons remained on the surface, disassembled into individual atoms, arranged in patterns that spelled out a single word in the Dominion language: please. Zefkar stared at the sensor readings and felt something cold growing in his chest. He still did not believe. He could not believe Dominion response was absolute. Supreme Hierarch Zethaval himself authorized the largest military deployment. In 12,000 years of Dominion history, 3,000 warships gathered at the staging point near the Veth Nebula. Each ship was a masterpiece of destruction, armed with weapons that could crack continents and shields that could withstand the death of stars. 50 million soldiers waited in the transport vessels. They were the finest warriors the Dominion had ever produced. They had been bred for war, trained for war, and existed for no other purpose. They did not know fear. They did not know mercy. They knew only victory. High Commander Zethkar had been recalled to lead this armada. His initial failure on New Geneva was forgiven. The Supreme Hierarch understood that the humans had somehow developed technology that allowed them to perform tricks. Tricks could be overcome. Tricks could be countered. The Dominion had faced strange enemies before. They had crushed them all. The fleet jumped to human space in a single massive wave. 3,000 points of light tore through the fabric of reality and emerged above the planet Meridian, the largest and most populated human colony. 20 billion humans lived on this world. Soon, none would. Zefkar stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Absolute Dominion. It was 3 times the size of the Eternal Conquest, armed with weapons that had never been tested because no test facility could survive there. Activation. He looked at Meridian through the main view screen and felt satisfaction. This time, there would be no games, no negotiations, no warnings. Open a channel to the planet, he ordered. All frequencies. The communications officer complied. Zefkar's voice boomed across every receiver on Meridian, in every human home, every vehicle, every device capable of receiving signals. People of Meridian, he announced, you have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Every human on this planet will submit to Dominion authority. Your leaders will present themselves for execution. Your population will be relocated to labor camps. Any resistance will result in immediate orbital bombardment. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. You have seen what we bring. 3,000 warships, 50 million soldiers, weapons capable of reducing your world to ash. You have no fleet. You have no army. You have nothing but tricks and illusions. Those will not save you now. He cut the channel and waited. 1 hour was generous. Most species surrendered within minutes when facing such overwhelming force. The humans had already demonstrated their capacity for strange resistance. But resistance meant nothing against sufficient firepower. A vanishing trick would not stop a planet cracker missile. The hour passed slowly. Zefkar watched the sensor displays, expecting shuttles full of surrendering officials, expecting desperate attempts to flee, expecting something. Instead, there was nothing. The planet continued its rotation. Cities continued their normal functions. Air traffic moved between settlements as if 3,000 warships were not hanging overhead, like a death sentence. Then, with 5 minutes remaining, a single shuttle launched from the surface. It was tiny, barely large enough for the passengers. It carried no weapons, no shields, nothing that could possibly threaten the armada surrounding it. It flew directly toward the Absolute Dominion, making no attempt to evade or hide. Zefkar ordered it brought into the landing bay. Whatever message the humans wanted to send, he would hear it. Perhaps they had finally realized the hopelessness of their situation. Perhaps they were ready to beg. The shuttle landed gently. Its door opened, and a child stepped out. She was young, perhaps 10 years by human reckoning. She had dark hair pulled into braids and wore simple clothes that looked handmade. In her hands, she carried a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Zefkar stared at her. This was their response, a child? The girl walked toward him with no fear. The Dominion soldiers surrounding her could have killed her with a thought. The High Commander himself could have crushed her with one hand. She showed no awareness of this danger. She simply walked, holding the crystal carefully, as if it were made of something precious. "Hello," she said, looking up at Zefkar. Her voice was clear and calm. "The grown-ups wanted me to bring you this. They said you should watch it before you do anything you can't take back." She held out the crystal. "They said to tell you they're sorry about what happens next if you don't." Zefkar took the crystal. It was warm in his hand, warmer than it should have been. He felt something stirring inside it, something vast and patient, and very, very old. "What is this?" he demanded. The girl smiled. It was not a child's smile. It was the smile of someone delivering sad news that they wished they did not have to deliver. "It's a warning," she said. "The last one you'll get." She turned and walked back to her shuttle. No one stopped her. No one knew why. She simply left, and the shuttle rose from the landing bay and returned to the planet below. Zefkar activated the crystal. Light filled the bridge. Not blinding light, but deep light. Light that seemed to contain dimensions beyond a normal perception. Images formed in the air, images that the Dominion's translation systems struggled to process. Earth, the human homeworld, but not the primitive world the Dominion scouts had reported. This was something else entirely. Surrounding the planet was a structure so vast it made the Dominion's greatest achievements look like children's toys. A sphere of impossible complexity, extending not just through normal space, but through layers of reality that the Dominion's science had never imagined. Ships beyond counting moved through this space, ships that folded distance around themselves, ships that existed in multiple places simultaneously. And at the heart of it all, connected by threads of light that spanned dimensions, was something the translation systems could only call the consensus. Trillions of minds linked together. Human minds, but more than human. They had expanded beyond their biological origins, spread themselves across substrates of pure energy and crystallized thought. They were not a species anymore. They were something new, something that had spent 3 million years evolving beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The images shifted. History, the war against the Coalition, shown not from the Kethmari perspective but from the human side. The humans had not wanted that war. They had tried to prevent it. They had offered peace 17 times before the Coalition attacked. When the Coalition used their final weapon, the humans had let them. They could have stopped it. They could have prevented the collapse of the Galactic Arm. But they looked at what they had become, at the destruction they had caused, at the species they had broken, and they decided that perhaps the Coalition was right. Perhaps they did need to be stopped. They let the weapon fire. They let trillions of their own people die. And then they retreated. They withdrew from the galaxy entirely. They built their sphere around Earth, and they tried to become something better. The 12 colonies were an experiment. Human volunteers agreed to have their memories suppressed, to live as their ancestors had lived, to forget what humanity had become. They wanted to know if they could exist peacefully. They wanted to know if the galaxy would let them. The galaxy had answered. The Dominion had answered. With 3,000 warships and a demand for surrender. The final image was a face. A woman, her features serene, her eyes holding depths that no biological organ could contain. She was the speaker for the consensus, the voice of trillions united. "We know what you are planning," she said. "We know you intend to destroy this world. We cannot stop you from making that choice. We can only show you what will follow." The image shifted to simulations, Dominion weapons firing, missiles and beams and bombs descending toward Meridian, and then stopping, hanging in space, waiting. "We do not kill if we can avoid it. We learned that lesson in blood and fire and 3 million years of silence. But we do not allow others to kill what we protect. Your weapons will not reach this world. Your soldiers will not harm these people. You can try. You will fail." The speaker's expression grew infinitely sad. "Please, we have seen what comes next if you choose to fight. We have calculated every possible outcome. In none of them do you win. In none of them do you survive as you are. We do not want this. We mourn for you already." The message ended. The crystal went dark. Zefkar stood in silence. His bridge crew stared at him, waiting for orders. The Supreme Hierarch was watching through quantum link, waiting for his response. This was impossible. This was absurd. The humans were farmers and traders. They were primitives. They could not possibly be what this message claimed. It had to be a trick, a bluff, a desperate attempt to prevent the inevitable. Zefkar made his decision. All ships, he commanded. Fire at will. Destroy the planet. 3,000 warships opened fire simultaneously. Beams of light that burned hotter than stars streaked toward Meridian. Missiles that carried enough destructive force to crack a world in half raced ahead of the beams. Bombs that would poison the atmosphere for 10,000 years followed behind. The weapons crossed the distance between the fleet and the planet in seconds. And then they stopped. Every weapon, every beam, every missile, every bomb. They hung in space, motionless, as if time itself had. 3 days passed. The weapons remained frozen. The Dominion fleet could not move. They could not communicate with their home world. They could not do anything except watch as their ultimate weapons hung motionless in space, a monument to their own helplessness. The missiles glowed with contained energy. The beams still burned, but burned nothing. The bombs waited with the patience of stones. Zefkar had tried everything. He had ordered secondary weapons fired. They stopped in the same way. He had launched fighters. They flew normally until they approached Meridian. Then their pilots found themselves gently returned to their ships with no memory of how it happened. He had even tried sending soldiers down in drop pods. The pods opened to reveal the soldiers already back in their bunks, sleeping peacefully. There was no violence, no death, no destruction, just absolute, impossible control. On the third day, a woman appeared on the bridge of every Dominion vessel simultaneously. She stood in the same spot on each ship, wearing the same simple clothes, with the same expression of ancient weariness on her face. Thousands of versions of her, all identical, all speaking with one voice. "I am Speaker Adaora," she said. "I speak for the consensus. I speak for humanity." Zefkar faced her on his own bridge. His officers stood frozen, unable to move, unable to speak. Only he remained free to act, though he suspected that was also by her choice. "What do you want?" he demanded. "If you mean to destroy us, do it. I will not beg." Speaker Adaora smiled sadly. "We do not want to destroy you, Commander. We have never wanted that. We want what we have always wanted, to be left alone, to be allowed to exist without others deciding they have the right to take what is ours." She gestured, and the bridge view screen changed. Instead of frozen weapons, it showed a planet, Earth, the real Earth, hidden behind its dimensional barriers, surrounded by its impossible structure. "Let me show you what we are," she said. "Let me explain why we do not want to fight." The image zoomed in, passing through layers of reality that made Zefkar's mind ache to perceive. He saw cities that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. He saw ships that traveled by folding space around themselves. He saw weapons that could unmake matter at the quantum level, defenses that could stop anything the universe could produce. And he saw people, billions of them, trillions. They looked human, mostly, but they were more than human. They moved through their lives with a peace that seemed impossible. They created art and music and literature. They raised children and cared for the elderly. They lived. 3 million years ago, we were like you, Speaker Adaora said. We believed that power was the measure of all things. We believed that the strong had the right to take from the weak. We believed that conquest was natural, that domination was inevitable, that the universe belonged to those who could seize it. The images shifted. War, destruction, species driven to extinction, planets burned to ash, entire civilizations erased from existence because they had something humanity wanted, or because they simply existed in the wrong place. We won every war we fought. We defeated every enemy we faced. The coalition of 17 species tried to stop us, and we destroyed them. We collapsed a galactic arm to prove a point. We killed trillions of our own people because it was easier than admitting we might be wrong. Zefkar watched in silence. He had seen war. He had caused war. But this was something beyond his experience. This was destruction on a scale that made the Dominion's greatest campaigns look like children's games. And then we looked at ourselves, Speaker Adaora continued. We looked at what we had become. We saw the monster in the mirror, and we were horrified. The images changed again. Humanity retreating. Humanity building barriers around their homeworld. Humanity choosing isolation over domination, silence over conquest. We spent 3 million years trying to become something better. We built the consensus not as a weapon, but as a way of sharing our guilt. Every human carries the memory of what we did. Every human feels the weight of every species we exterminated, every culture we destroyed, every child who never got to exist because we were too certain of our own righteousness. She looked at Zefkar with eyes that held depths he could not comprehend. Do you understand now? We do not want to fight you because fighting is what we were. Every time we use our power, we become a little more like the monsters we used to be. Every time we destroy instead of creating, we lose a piece of what we have spent 3 million years building. Zefkar found his voice. Then why not let us win? If you hate your power so much, why not simply surrender? Because surrender would not stop you, Speaker Adaora said. You would take our colonies, you would enslave our people, and then you would do the same to others, convinced that your strength gave you the right. We cannot allow that. We cannot watch the galaxy repeat our mistakes. She stepped closer to him. Despite everything, despite his size and strength and the engineered courage that ran through his blood, Zefkar took a step back. We are offering you a choice, she said. The same choice we wish someone had offered us. You can withdraw. You can acknowledge human sovereignty. You can go home and tell your people that some fights cannot be won, and that wisdom lies in knowing which ones to avoid. And if we refuse, then we will demonstrate what we are capable of. Not to destroy you, but to remove your ability to harm others. Your weapons will be gone. Your fleet will be disabled. Your soldiers will be returned to their families unharmed. But the Dominion as you know it will cease to exist. Zefkar laughed bitterly. You expect me to make this choice? I am just a soldier. The Supreme Hierarch commands the Dominion. We know, Speaker Adaora said. We are speaking to him as well, across the galaxy on the throne world of Zeth Prime. Supreme Hierarch Zethaval faced the same woman, heard the same words, felt the same impossible presence. He was the ruler of 12,000 years of conquest. He had destroyed species for insulting his predecessors. He had ordered genocides because they were convenient. He did not hesitate. The Dominion does not surrender, he declared. The Dominion does not retreat. Attack them. Destroy them. Use everything we have. His orders went out. Across Dominion space, reserve fleets activated. Hidden weapons were brought online. Every resource the Dominion possessed was directed toward one goal, the complete annihilation of humanity. Speaker Adaora sighed. It was a sound of infinite weariness, of hope finally extinguished. So be it, she said. The frozen weapons around Meridian began to move, but they did not continue toward the planet. They turned. They reversed course. They accelerated toward the ships that had fired them. Zefkar watched in horror as his own weapons approached his own fleet. We do not kill if we can avoid it, Speaker Adaora said. Your crews are being removed now. Across the fleet, Dominion soldiers and officers found themselves surrounded by soft light. They felt warmth, comfort, a strange sense of peace. And then they were elsewhere, floating in life pods that had materialized around them, watching as their ships faced their own weapons. 3,000 warships were struck by their own missiles, their own beams, their own bombs. The weapons did not destroy them. They disabled them. Engines burned out. Power cores went dead. Weapon systems melted into slag. The ships became hulks, drifting in formation, a sculpture of impotence. Zefkar found himself in a life pod, alone, watching the destruction of everything he had built his life around. The Dominion's greatest fleet, reduced to wreckage without a single human firing a shot. Speaker Adaora appeared beside him, her image floating in the cramped space. You will be returned to your home world, she said. You will tell them what happened here. You will tell them that we did not want this. You will tell them that we offered peace, and they chose war. She paused, her expression softening. And you will tell them that we still offer peace, even now, even after everything. We do not want revenge. We do not want domination. We want what we have always wanted, to be left alone, to be allowed to heal. Zefkar said nothing. There was nothing to say. Speaker Adaora addressed the entire galaxy. Her voice reached every species, every world, every being capable of receiving a signal. "We did not want this," she said. "We will not apologize for defending ourselves, but we will offer you what we wished someone had offered us: a choice. In 30 days, we will address the Galactic Assembly. Attend or do not. But understand this, the galaxy you knew is over. What comes next is up to you." Her image faded. Zefkar floated in his life pod, surrounded by 50 million other life pods containing 50 million other Dominion soldiers. Around them drifted the empty shells of 3,000 warships. No one had died. No one had been hurt. And yet, everything had changed. In 30 days, the galaxy would learn what that meant. The Grand Conclave had never seen such attendance. Every species capable of sending a representative had done so. Some had sent multiple delegations. Some had sent their highest leaders in person. The station between the 3 dying stars strained to accommodate them all. Fear filled the atmosphere like a poisonous gas. Every being in that chamber had seen the footage from Meridian. They had watched 3,000 warships reduced to wreckage without humanity firing a single weapon. They had seen the impossible become real. Now they waited to learn their fate. The Dominion delegation sat in shameful silence. Supreme Hierarch Zethaval had not come personally. He was dealing with civil unrest on his homeworld, where citizens demanded to know how their invincible military had been defeated so completely. High Commander Zefkar represented what remained of the Dominion's authority. He looked like a broken creature, his engineered confidence shattered. Elder Vorathax sat in the observer's gallery. He had earned the right to be here. He was the only one who had tried to warn them. When Speaker Adaura arrived, she came alone. No guards, no fleet of warships waiting outside. No show of force. She walked into the chamber wearing simple clothes, carrying nothing, looking like any ordinary human might look. Small, soft, fragile. The contrast with what everyone knew she represented was almost unbearable. She walked to the central platform. The translation field activated around her. When she spoke, her voice reached every mind in the chamber. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know you are afraid. I know you expect demands, ultimatums, terms of surrender. I am here to disappoint those expectations." She turned to face the observer's gallery, finding Vorathax among the thousands of faces. "Elder Vorathax tried to warn you about humanity. He showed you recordings of what we were 3 million years ago. He told you we were dangerous, and he was right. We were the most dangerous thing this galaxy has ever produced." Her gaze returned to the assembly. "He was also wrong. Not about our power, but about our intentions. He believed we were a threat to be feared. In truth, we are a warning to be heeded. A warning about what any species can become if they believe their strength gives them the right to dominate others." She began to walk among the delegations. Species that had conquered star systems flinched as she passed. "We did not come out of hiding to conquer you. We came because we hoped the galaxy had changed. We placed colonies of our own people, stripped of their memories, made vulnerable and weak, to test how you would treat those who could not fight back." She stopped near the Dominion delegation. "The Dominion showed us the answer. 300 warships to UNX-12 farming colonies. Demands for surrender. Threats of genocide. When we asked to be left alone, you sent 3,000 more ships to destroy us." Zefkar could not meet her eyes. He stared at the floor, trembling. "We defeated your fleet without killing a single soldier. We disabled your weapons without harming your crews. We had every right to retaliate, to punish, to do to you what you planned to do to us. We chose not to." She turned back to the full assembly. "That choice is what separates who we are now from who we were. 3 million years ago, we would have exterminated the Dominion. We would have burned their worlds and salted their fields and made their name a curse. We know how to do it. Part of us still wants to." Her voice grew soft, almost gentle. "But we learned something in our long silence. Power is not measured by what you can destroy. It is measured by what you choose not to destroy. We could end the Dominion. We could end any of you. We choose not to. That choice is our victory over ourselves." She returned to the central platform. "The Dominion of Zeth is dissolved as a military power. Their weapons are gone. Their fleet is salvage. But their people are unharmed. Their worlds remain. Their culture survives. This is not mercy as weakness. This is mercy as lesson. The chamber was absolutely silent. For the rest of you, we offer partnership, not rule, not submission. Partnership. We have technology that could transform your civilizations. We have knowledge that could answer questions you have asked for millennia. We will share it freely, but only with those who commit to peaceful development. She raised her hand, and above the assembly appeared a map of the galaxy. Points of light marked the 12 human colonies. We will provide protection to any species that renounces conquest. We will defend the weak against the strong. We will not force anyone to accept this offer. We will simply exist, and in time, we hope, the galaxy will understand. The map faded. Speaker Adaoro lowered her hand. We do not ask you to trust us. We know that trust must be earned. We ask only that you give us the chance to earn it. Let us show you what we have become. Let us prove that the monsters we were are truly dead. She fell silent. The assembly processed her words. Some felt hope. Some felt suspicion. Some felt the strange sensation of a universe shifting beneath their feet. Zethkar stood. He was not supposed to speak. He had no authority anymore. But he had to know. Why? He asked. His voice cracked. You have all the power. You could take anything you want. You could rule the galaxy without lifting a finger. Why would you choose this? Speaker Adaoro looked at him with something that might have been compassion. Because we remember, she said. Every human, from the youngest child to the oldest elder, carries the weight of what we did. We remember every species we exterminated. We remember every culture we destroyed. We remember the children who never got to exist because we were too certain of our own righteousness. She touched her chest. We carry that guilt in here. It will never go away. It is the price we pay for what we were, and it is the only thing that keeps us from becoming that again. She looked out at the assembled galaxy. 3 million years ago, we stood where you stand now. We had the power. We had the certainty. We had the belief that strength was all that mattered. And we used that power to cause suffering beyond measure. We cannot undo what we did. We can only try to prevent others from making the same mistakes. She stepped down from the platform. Power is not what you can do. It is what you choose not to do. We learned that lesson in blood and ash and 3 million years of silence. We are here to offer you a shorter path. Take it or leave it. The choice is yours. She began to walk toward the exit. The assembly parted before her like water before a ship. At the doorway, Elder Vorathax stood waiting. He was weeping. Great tears rolled down his ancient face, leaving tracks in his weathered skin. I was wrong about you, he said. I tried to warn them about humanity as a threat. I should have warned them about what you represent. Hope. Speaker Adaora took his hands in hers. Despite everything she was, she looked human in that moment. Small, soft, fragile, and stronger than anything the galaxy had ever produced. Your people warned us once, she said. 3 million years ago, when we first began our conquests, a species called the Kethmari sent us a message. They said that power without wisdom would destroy us. We did not listen. We destroyed them instead. Vorathax's eyes widened. We have carried that guilt longer than any other, Speaker Adaora continued. The Kethmari were the first to try to stop us, the first to see what we were becoming, the first to pay the price for our arrogance. She released his hands. Your ancestors were right. We have spent 3 million years proving it. Perhaps now, finally, we can honor their warning. She left the chamber. The assembly sat in stunned silence. Hours later, across human space, the volunteers on the 12 colonies began receiving their memories back. They had agreed to forget, to live as their ancestors had lived, to test the galaxy's treatment of the vulnerable. Now they remembered. They remembered what they were, what humanity was, what they had chosen to leave behind. Many of them wept, not from trauma, not from fear, from relief. The experiment had not failed. When they appeared weak, when they were attacked and threatened and scheduled for destruction, humanity had chosen mercy. They had proven that the monster was truly dead. In the Grand Conclave, species began to talk. Some rejected humanity's offer outright, certain it was a trick. Others embraced it desperately, eager for protection. Most simply did not know what to think. The galaxy had changed in a single day. Processing that change would take generations. But somewhere in the observer's gallery, Elder Vorathax smiled. His people had tried to warn the galaxy about humanity. They had been ignored. They had been mocked. They had been dismissed as relics peddling ghost stories. Now the galaxy was listening. Perhaps that was enough. Perhaps, after 3 million years, the warning had finally been heard. And perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy could learn the lesson that humanity had paid so dearly to teach. That power was not what you could destroy. It was what you chose to protect.